All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Jorge's Isolation Podcast. Today, I am joined by the one and only David Barrera. This is actually interesting. I've met Dave through the internet, and this is actually the first time we've kind of met face to face in a way. David's been in a ton of stuff. He's been in Bosch, in Castle, in was it it's a Generation Kill was when I first saw him. Very talented actor, and actually one of the people who have played a very pivotal role in my career, believe it or not. So here we go. This is David Barrera. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. It's good to see you.
Good to finally meet you face to face, even though we've never met in person still.
Exactly. It's weird that we haven't, but you were an LA guy and I went to New York, and I had the way we met was interesting, right? Like I think like I was looking into after undergrad.
Yeah,
Whoa.
somebody introduced us through email or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Who was it? Was that Michael Escamilla or who was it? I don't even remember.
I don't even remember. That was almost 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of them. It has to have been. I reached out to you because I was graduating undergrad and I had no clue what I was going to be doing. And I wanted to pursue this as a career, as a profession, but I also wanted to learn more.
Right. You graduated from Pan Am.
From Pan Am. And one of the questions that I asked you was, okay, so what would your advice, because you've been doing this, for a while. You've gone out there, and I was naive. I still am kind of naive. I'm still learning. I think we all are learning at some point or another, always. But I just didn't know.
In this business, you're always still learning.
Oh man, just when you think you have it figured out, it's just something, especially now with COVID. But I wanted to know what my options were and how to get an agent. I think that was how it started. It's like, how do you get an agent? And your response was brilliant, and it actually inspired me. And you said, there are many ways to get an agent. And the way that you did it was you went through a grad school and you got training. And so you said, look, that isn't the only way, but this is the way that I did it. And you have to, think about those options, because you can go out and you can perform, or you can go and it's like, there's no one right answer to this. But for me, that's what you're saying, was that you went to grad school and you got a lot more out of it. You got the training, you got the experience, and because you went to UCSD, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to work there, and there was still theater in the La Jolla Playhouse, right? Or the Old Globe?
Yep, La Jolla Playhouse, yeah.
And so I took that to heart, and I started thinking, I was like, you know what? He's right. I have a lot to learn, and I needed to learn, because what I was getting at Pan Am was great with what they were able to give me, but I needed to learn more. And so I auditioned, and I made it into a grad school, and it played out the way you said. It worked out for me.
You got into a good one. I remember. Yeah, I remember you were graduating, and I remember me saying, there's so many different paths. Everybody has a different path.
Yeah.
And I can only tell you I can only tell you my path.
Yeah.
And how it worked for me. And also, I think it was like, the importance of learning how to be a professional actor. I think is the words that I said was, you want to go somewhere that's going to teach you how to be a professional.
Yeah.
That way, when you get out, you already, have that step on everybody else.
Yeah. And I agree. And I think that was one of the things, like, there was always going to be positives and negatives, pros and cons with any kind of program. You know what I mean? Especially, in this day and age where there's going to be more people that look like us, and they're still teaching for people that don't look like us,
Right.
And so there's going to be those kinds of issues. But I was very fortunate to work with professors like Peter J. Fernandez and Ron Liebman and Cotter Smith and professionals that are currently working and been in the business. And that you're absolutely right. Like, I learned, what it was to be a professional. And to take it, it's just, there's lots of disappointments in this business.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like right now, like I have not worked in a year, and half of it is not my fault and the other half is COVID. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
don't know like what happened. So you
Absolutely.
know
No, I mean, there was 5 months there where there was nothing,
mm,
absolutely no auditions, nothing going on. And then
yeah,
slowly things started to move a little bit. And I think
yeah,
things are getting a little bit better now, but it's still a big learning process for everybody, figuring out how they're shooting during this time and all that kind of stuff. And it's just an interesting time, and it's crazy COVID times.
yeah. And you just worked
Yeah, I
out of
just
the
I
country
just
too.
Yeah, I just got back from Romania a week ago. I was shooting a film there that we were actually supposed to shoot. It's a Netflix movie that we
Uh-huh.
were actually supposed to shoot in March.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going to shoot like a week in Cleveland, and then we were going to shoot the rest in Romania. And I ended up flying to Cleveland
Yeah,
on March 13th.
yeah,
And I was literally at the hotel for an hour, and then I got a call from the producer,
yeah.
and they said, Netflix is shutting down all of their shows. We're gonna have to fly you back to LA tomorrow, and we don't know. I mean, he goes, we have an international crew here in
Yeah,
Cleveland, and everything's shutting down, and we don't even know if we're gonna be able to get them back out of the country.
yeah.
You know what I mean? There was like everything was just shutting down, and so I just flew back the next day to LA, and then sat around for 5 months, and then luckily the movie came back,
Yeah.
and they called, and I said, yeah, man, I'd love to go to Romania and shoot it. I was there a month and a half. We shot the whole thing in Romania.
Wow.
They're still shooting now. I think they have like, excuse me, I think they have like a week and a half left, and then they'll be done completely.
Wow. What's that like now? I mean, it's one thing shooting out of the country with
Yeah.
no COVID, but now with COVID.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. I mean, I had to, get tested before I left.
Yeah.
Somebody came to my house, and they tested me, and then I was cleared. So then I flew to Romania,
Mm-hmm.
with mask on and everything for, it's like a 10-hour flight going that way from New York. And then once I got there, I got tested again
Yeah.
before I could even mingle with the cast or anything. I had to get tested again, and then I was clear. And then we got tested like every 2 days while I was there.
The nose
Uh,
swabs.
yeah, the nose swabs, just to get tested, just to make sure that everybody's always COVID free. And
Yeah.
they take it very, very seriously. I think there was a couple of positive tests while I was there, for crew people.
Mm-hmm.
Never any cast while I was there. They had to shut down for the day. They had to clean the whole set, and
Wow.
so we missed those 2 days, and then we'd be shooting, and everybody has masks on. Everybody has shields on, and of course the actors can't have that stuff when you're working. So you walk
Yeah.
on the set, and that's when you take off your mask and you're ready to work. And then as you're leaving, you put it back on, and it's just they have a whole protocol. And Netflix runs a really tight ship, and they just make sure that everybody's safe.
Yeah.
And it really frees you up to be able to work freely and relaxed,
Yeah.
as opposed to wondering, oh my God, I'm wondering if I'm going to catch it from that guy or that guy or that. You know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah.
they create a really safe environment. So I really hand it to Netflix that they were able to
Yeah.
do a really good job at that.
Yeah. Netflix has really grown. I did one of the earlier shows of Netflix in 2015. It was a show called The Characters. And it was an awful anthology comedy. That's right. No one's heard of it. And I mean, it had good people. Bobby Moynihan slaps me with money. And I worked on Lauren Lapkus's episode.
Yeah.
And it was just a weird little spot, but Netflix has come a long way from then.
Oh yeah. I mean, they were there at the beginning, and I mean, they've hired me the most, I think, in the last 2-3 years. I mean, I've been hired by Netflix a few times because they're doing so many things, so much content, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. The contracts are hopefully getting better with that.
Yeah, I've noticed that as far as they seem to be pretty comparable to the networks, which has been great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think way early on,
It was awful.
some of the streamers were, they paid less or whatever, but I think like now it's gotten a little bit better.
Yeah. I remember for that one, I had already done Louis on FX. So I already had
Yeah.
like a network show. So I already had like a scale day
Yeah.
for my day player day. And so when I did that Netflix show, it was like 2 months later. So I did Louis like in February. So I probably did this show like in April or May. And it was half, like completely half.
Yeah.
And I didn't even
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
any residuals.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the
that's
residuals are
changed.
still. Yeah, the residuals are a whole different ball game
Yeah.
for the streamers, and
Yeah.
it's just crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. I mean, it's just a thing you have to adapt to and figure out. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because like how do you keep track of that? I mean, that has changed because on another note, like I did Kimmy Schmidt and I auditioned for that show like 8 times. Cindy Tolan
Yeah.
called me in at least 8 times for that. And I booked it twice. The first time I booked it and they said, "Oh no, we're not doing it after all." Second time I did it, I went for the costume, I went for the fitting, I went for everything. And the day before I was going to shoot, they said, "Oh, Jorge, sorry to do this to you again, but you wrote that whole scene out."
Yeah.
But
I mean, that happens, man.
it
I mean, that's happened a few times in my career, where
Yes.
you're ready to go, and then all of a sudden things change, especially in television. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
television is like so fast.
yeah, but like I got residuals for that, which was nice.
Yeah, that's
Which
great.
was
I mean,
really nice.
sometimes if your name's still on the credit because you got paid for it or whatever,
Yeah.
then you still get residuals. It's happened a couple of times. It's not always, but yeah,
No.
sometimes, yeah.
No, yeah, because I got edited out of the blacklist
Yeah.
once, and then I came back, and then I got a bigger part, so that was really nice. It was like it's a redemption. I got killed in the cold open though, but still, I had like 4 more lines than that other one.
Absolutely, man.
So it was worth it, and I got killed by James Spader. So how many people can say that, right?
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
James
man.
Spader.
Yeah, he's. You know what I loved about James Spader was that he likes the air conditioning, and New York doesn't get hot all the time, but when we get a heat wave, we get heat waves. So it was 100 degrees that day that we were shooting.
Yeah.
And we were shooting in Staten Island, and it was supposed to be like in an abuelita's kitchen in Cuba or something like that. And we're playing, like a backroom card game. And I'm a crooked cop, of course. And it was 100 degrees. They never have the air on for that because of sound. After every take, they'll cut, and then James wants the air back on. James wants the air. I was like, "Thank you, James. Thank you," because it was so hot.
Man,
So hot.
yeah, and it ruins the whole shot with all the sweat and everything.
Oh yeah, and I sweat. I was sweating in blizzards over there, so I don't even know how I made it here growing up in the valley.
I mean, I tell people, I grew up with no air conditioning.
Mhm.
You know what I mean, and in the hot valley, and I sometimes I don't know how we did it. You know what I mean? It's just you just adapted. I think later on, one time I was in high school, we got like an air conditioner for like the living room.
Yeah. That was always the first place. It was the living room or your parents' bedroom.
Yeah, but I don't know how we survived it, man, because it gets hot down there.
Yeah, no, dude. Moving back reminded me how hot it gets down here. Oh man, I forgot how hot it gets. It was like 106 a few days ago, or 100, 103. I was feeling like that, and now we had a cold front that blew in 2 days ago, or like yesterday, and it was like in the 40s this morning. But now it's back up to like the 70s, 80s. So I'm wearing long sleeves and I'm sweating.
Yeah, the humidity is crazy, man.
Oh, dude, that's.
But yeah, when we were shooting, we shot Cruzando down there in 2000, 2009. It was hot, man, because we shot in the summertime,
bro.
And I mean, we were just sweating buckets, and so all the sweat you see in that movie is all real sweat, man.
So my story with that was I was a extra on that in the bar scene. So my cousin Rita Chapa was a PA on that shoot. And I was down. I was living in Florida at the time, and I was visiting for the month, and she's like, "Hey, you want to be an extra in this movie?" And this is when I was first getting into this, and I was like, "Yeah, let me do this."
Had you already graduated from Pan Am or no?
No, this was
Oh,
no.
okay. This is before that.
I
Yeah.
took the long road. You know, there's two roads diverged. You
Yeah.
know, I took
Oh
the
yeah.
road less traveled, and I was like, yeah, because what really my background is like I didn't get into acting till I was like 25. I never was into acting.
Oh, you never did it in high school or anything like that.
No, man. I was an athlete, and even if I wanted to do it in high school at Sherryland, because I went to McCallum Memorial for 2 years, my freshman and sophomore year. Then I went to Sherryland for my junior and senior year because my mom taught in the district, and
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to just try something new, and how many people can do that. It was like I didn't have any problems. A lot of my friends are still at Memorial, and it was just it was an opportunity. So I went, and even if I wanted to do theater there, we didn't have a theater program. Like I took drama class, and all we did was play cards.
You mean at Sherryland?
Yeah, dude,
That's
now
crazy.
now it's
That's
different.
Well, when I was in high school, Sherryland had a great drama department.
Not when I was there. Like it was
Wow.
we in drama class we played cards. We would take naps, and our theater curriculum was listening to Into the Woods, the soundtrack, over and over. That's the
Wow.
when it comes to musical, because my wife is into musical theater, and she works at AMDA, so they breathe musical theater over there. I
Yeah.
know Into the Woods. She's like, "How do you know this?" I was like, "Let me tell you, we listen to this every day." So that was my experience. So I didn't. I thought I was gonna play college football. Like I was working out, and then I tore my shoulder, and then I was too short. I'm 5'10", so for a
Yeah.
linebacker, I would need to be over 6 foot, and
Sure, 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 sure.
I need my shoulder too. So those dreams got crushed, and I got into it, a few years later to acting after I did a little bit of sowing of the wild oats.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's when I came across Cruzando, and that's where I met Michael Ray and Mando and Serena and
yeah,
Jerry.
yeah, 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 Jerry. Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
I met him, and then I was a background for the bar scene where Michael was the choco flan, or the flan. He was dancing on
Yeah.
stage. Well, they had beer. They were serving, like they had beer for us,
Yeah.
and like I just said about like with Spader, like there was no air in this bar, and it was like a bar in Alamo or in San Juan,
Yeah. In Alamo. Yeah.
and I drank so many beers, and I didn't get drunk because I was sweating so much, and I was wearing a blue, like a baby blue guayabera, and it
Yeah.
was just soaked all the way through in sweat from that day. And I went home. I remember I went home and I just slept and slept and slept. And I was like, this is
That
what
is
movies
good.
are like. I want to do this all the time.
So movies in the valley are like.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Were you always into theater, or from a young age, or
I mean, I was always into both. I played football and did drama. I was one of those kids that did both, right? And
you were
so, but ever since I was a kid, I always like was a class clown. I always liked to make people laugh, that kind of stuff. And then I think it was like in elementary school, they had creative dramatics,
Mhm.
and I auditioned, and I got in, and basically it was like improv and stuff like that, and we'd go compete against the other elementary schools and that kind of stuff. And then when I went to junior high, I did all the plays and all the competitions as I played football.
Yeah.
And then in high school, I kind of veered away from football and was mostly in theater.
Yeah.
And we did all the state competitions and all that kind of stuff. And then that was an amazing experience, because PSJ, when I was there, had like one of the top programs in the valley, and we did really well upstate and that kind of stuff. So it was
Yeah.
all very good experience and exposure
Yeah.
to acting. And then and I would do the UIL tournaments on the weekends.
Yeah.
I would do solo competitions, duet competitions, group acts, all that kind of stuff. and
Yeah.
then and then when it came around my senior year, I was the first class that they took us to I think they took us to Dallas or Austin to audition for colleges.
Yeah.
To audition for all of the state schools. It was at TETA, Texas Educational Theater Association.
Yeah.
And we auditioned for all of the Texas schools like at once, right? And, you know, I got called back by all of these different schools, Texas A&M, University of Texas, Texas Tech, you know, Texas, what was it? Back then it was South Texas State University, which is now Texas State.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were all like, we really want you to come, you know, what do you call it? University of Texas was like, we really would like you to come to our school. You know, we'll give you a $500 scholarship. And I was like, back then I was, you know, poor Valley kid. I was like, wow, $500. That's amazing. But then I got called back to SMU, which is like, at that time was one of the top theater programs in the country. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea of theater schools. I had no idea that you had to audition to get into the good theater programs. Like I thought you just went to school, you know, you got into a school and then you declared theater major.
Yeah.
I had no idea that these top theater programs, you have to audition to get into the program and then get accepted academically to the school as well. Right. I had no idea. So SMU, you know, a private school, they called me back and they're like, we want you to come to our school and we'll pay everything.
Yeah.
We'll give you a full ride. Whatever financial aid
Wow.
doesn't cover, we'll cover it. If you know, because at the time I think to go there for the whole time was $60,000 for the whole thing. And he was like, if you need $60,000, we'll give you $60,000. And I was like, what?
That's amazing.
You know what I mean? So I ended up going to SMU and got a full scholarship. And it was just an incredible time of training with amazing artists and working with really talented, you know, other students and stuff like that. And that really solidified for me that it was possible to be a professional actor.
Yeah.
Because you know, growing up in the Valley, I didn't grow up with anybody that had gone before me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like when I was growing up, the only guy that I knew was Valente Rodriguez. That's the only guy that I knew from the Valley.
He was another mentor of mine. Yeah.
Exactly. He was the only one that I knew that he went to Pan Am and he went to LA and he was in a movie called Salsa. And, and I remember it was like, that was like a, you know, that was a movie that played everywhere. It was like it was like a national, it wasn't, he hadn't been in Blood In, Blood Out yet. I don't think at that point. It was a movie called Salsa. And I remember, wow, you know, I remember I had seen him at a production at UTPA when he was still there. And so he was the only really one that I knew that had gone, but I didn't know what the steps were to it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like to me, Hollywood seemed like this really far away place and you didn't know how to get there. You didn't know how you would do it. Right. But when I was at SMU and I was working with actors that had already done like summer theater, summer stock theater, classmates of mine that had been in movies and television, that had done commercials, I started to realize, oh, okay, I see how it's possible to do this. Like I see my way in now. Yeah. Like before I kind of thought, when I was growing up, I thought, oh, if you're an actor, you're either a success or a failure. Like you're either like a millionaire movie star or you're a complete failure. Like, you know, and those were the two things that I thought was the paradigm. Yeah. But when I was in school with actors and stuff, I realized, oh, you could make a living as an actor and nobody has necessarily heard of you. Exactly. Yeah. You know, because there's people that make $200,000 or $300,000 a year. Yeah. And nobody knows who they are because they've been doing commercials or they're doing voiceovers or they're doing, you know, theater, little parts in movies, little parts in TV, and they make a really good living. Yeah. But nobody's like, you tell Joe Schmo on the street, they've never heard of them, but they're making a great living and they're living their dream of working every day. Yeah. And so it was at SMU that I kind of solidified for me, like, oh, okay, I could do this. Like I could really can live. Do this. Yeah. Yeah. I could be an actor. I could make a living as an actor. Yeah. And before that, I was just kind of like riding this wave of like, yeah, I'm a really good actor. Yeah, I got this great scholarship. Yeah, I'm doing great in school, in college. But the whole paradigm shift of like, oh, this is what it would be like to be a professional actor. I can do that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That I feel
And
that.
then
Yeah.
I auditioned for grad school and went to grad school and then
Yeah.
auditioned for agents and then got my agent and then moved to LA, and that's a whole nother story. But yeah, so that was kind of
Yeah.
that audition where they took us up to audition for the schools.
Mhm.
That was the thing that kind of, these two amazing guys, Charlie Helford and Dale Moffat, just said, "Hey, come here. We can help you realize your dream." And to me, that was like, "Whoa, this is awesome."
That's really
You know?
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel you with that about trying to understand if you'd be a professional or how that would be. Cause I had the same kind of thinking or where I didn't know how I was going to quote unquote make it,
Yeah.
because like you said, like either you're on TV, everyone knows you, or you don't, you fail.
Yeah.
It was like that. It was like one or the other.
Yeah.
And I was watching a lot of TV, and I start seeing a lot of characters and that I admired from TV shows and TV shows that I admire. And I'm like, okay, what makes this show good? Why do I like this show so much? And it was always the ensemble cast. So one of the ones I can always go back to is Castle.
Yeah.
You're gonna have, Castle and Beckett. They're the two leads. Nathan Fillion is gonna be the lead. But then you had Detective Ryan and Esposito. Those two were, they were there.
Yeah.
But
My buddy John
John Huerta from Generation Kill.
That's right.
Yeah. And I was like, I want to do that. And then, I was watching CIS when the original, the Las Vegas one, and Detective Brass, he was in there, and he wasn't the lead, Gil Grissom was the lead. But then,
Right.
I was like, you know what? I want to do that where I can at least work constantly or consistently in something that will move the story forward, or the story isn't complete without that one character. And I won't have to deal with the struggle of living up to that leading role. You know how sometimes a lead will have to be that. So, you have to, if Castle was Castle, like, or when Nathan Fillion did that, they were thinking about what Firefly, like, oh, what is he going to do from that? And then I saw that documentary, that guy who was in that thing. Did you ever watch that documentary?
That guy who was in a thing? No, I've never seen that.
So that whole documentary is about people you will recognize if you're watching a show, any kind of show. Detective Brass,
character actors.
all character actors.
Yeah.
And these are all those guys. And I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. And that has helped me mentally prepare for this industry.
Yeah.
And I remember going to grad school where there's a lot of people who, weren't prepared for that. And that's, that's not a knock. Like, I mean, sometimes you can do that or you don't, but I already knew that this was like, I could be a day player, and look, I've made a living off of this for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, I mean, I'm not making 300,000, although that'd be really,
no. I'm saying, but what I meant by that was that you can make an amazing living, like,
you can,
and people have never heard of that person.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, I never had, like, my dream was never to become a movie star. Like, that was never my dream. My dream was never to become like, oh, I want to be the biggest movie star. Like, I really just had a passion for acting, for the acting process, especially.
Yeah.
And then also I just wanted I loved performing. I loved being on stage. I loved, portraying a character, getting into the mind of a character and all that kind of stuff. And I just wanted to be an actor, be able to act the rest of my life. Right. That was the dream.
Yeah.
The dream was never anything other than that. And so far, I've been, kicking around here for 26 years now.
Yeah.
Living that dream,
Yeah. And it's great. It's got to be a great feeling to know that you're still doing it, and you just worked for 6 weeks, and you probably have something else lined up, and you're in Selena coming out too in December. So it's like one of those things, and it's just, you keep going forward, even though I'm sure there was some lulls in that career.
Oh, there's always lulls. I mean,
always.
That's the thing that people don't realize. People are like, people are like, oh, wow, I haven't worked in 3 or 4 weeks, or I haven't worked in a couple of months. I'm like, bro, there's been years that I haven't worked. There's been like,
Yeah.
there's been like, there's been times where I'm like, I didn't get a job for 9 months. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
6 months, 8 months, a year. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then all of a sudden, there's a year where you're getting like
Yeah.
2 or 3 jobs, in a month, and it's just that roller coaster of like,
Yeah.
hurry up and wait. There's good times and there's lean times.
Yeah.
And the thing that I tell actors is, save your money, man, because
Mm-hmm.
you want to spend like you don't have the money, is what I
Yep.
always used to say. You
That's what we
spend
do.
like you don't have the money, because then in those lean times, you still have a reserve, and
Yeah.
you're able to get by during those lean times, and you don't have to take just anything, you know and then all of a sudden things kick back up again. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
the business goes in cycles, and I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
I don't care what level that they're at. There's always cycles. The cycles are just different.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm going through one of those, and it's my first big lull. Actually, I I worked. I think the last big job I did was in 2018. It was like November. I think it was Bad
Yeah.
Education on HBO. I did that, and then I didn't work again until the week after my daughter was born, and she was born on May 25th, 2019. So I
Wow.
worked like in June, that first week in June. And then I haven't worked since then. So it's been
Right.
over a year.
Yeah.
And
But you're
that is
also, I mean, you're also in the valley, right? You moved to the
yeah,
valley, right?
yeah, yeah,
Which makes it a little harder to
it
do it,
does.
but
And that's the thing that I was worried about before moving down here. I had to really think about it. We had to move down here because my mother-in-law is, she has some dementia
yeah.
issues, and we just it is better for our little girl growing
that
up.
that
And
those are the choices that
yeah,
will benefit you tenfold
yeah,
later on, when you make a choice for your family, which we've done several times. We've made
yeah,
choice. We've never had to move out of LA, but
yeah,
make choices where we won't take certain things, or I'll take time off in order to go be with Maria in Canada,
yeah,
or whatever it is, to make choices for your family. I think is the most important thing, because the industry will always be there. It's not
yeah,
like you can't just step right back in, and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And you're still
yeah,
auditioning. You're still putting. Everybody's auditioning on tape anyway, so it doesn't really necessarily
yeah,
matter where you're living.
yeah.
But
No,
those family choices, those are the most important choices.
no, absolutely. And I said this to my wife in the very beginning that, like you said, you wanted to act because you love acting. I found that passion for acting when I did some plays at Pan Am. I
Yeah,
did of Mice and Men was the play that really solidified me wanting to follow this
yeah,
further. And I never wanted to chase fame. I don't even like like people coming up to me. I'm real awkward with people, and it's just I just want to work, no matter
yeah,
what it is. I just want to just do some acting, no matter where it's at. And I told Rosa from the very beginning was that once I finish grad school, I'm only asking for 5 years. I'm going to chase this full speed ahead, five
yeah,
years. I'm not going to be one of those guys that is saying, you know what, at that fifth year, I hadn't worked or I hadn't had any auditions. And I was like, no, this is it. This is the year. The band's going to make it. That sort of,
yeah, 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 yeah.
sort of idea. Is I can't do that because I've seen people that have lived in some of these careers, like personally, where they keep chasing something that's just not there. And the family has suffered for it. I never wanted to do that for my family. I wanted to know
Yeah.
that I went out there and I did it for 5 years. And I said, I set out to do something, and I can say that I did it.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect to have done what I've done. I
Right.
didn't expect to work as much as I have. And luckily, the industry has changed to where we can audition from here in South Texas. I actually, before I moved, I talked to a few people. I know Ricardo Chavira is living in San Antonio. So I
Yeah.
talked to him about it, and he was honest. He's like, to be honest, you can do it. It's hard because
Yeah, it's a little harder,
it's
but
harder. Yeah. And then I also talked to Lindsey Graham from Betty May
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
she's from the Valley. We went to high
yeah.
school together.
She's from
We
Sharyland.
Yeah, we graduated together. And I always pick her brain, and I'll ask for advice here and there. And she's like, "Listen, you could do this from anywhere now. We're taping from anywhere." So I just needed to know that. And then I also got in contact with casting directors from New York, who I had worked with several times, and they said, "Jorge, you can go. We'll always look for you." And sure
Yeah,
enough, I'd been called up a few times
yeah,
since I've left. So, I'm glad, and it's also a testament to like the work that I was able to do, that I made that kind of impression to where casting remembers. It's like kind of feels special.
yeah.
you
Absolutely. No,
know?
I mean they appreciate good actors, and they want to use good actors, and
Yeah.
so they remember good actors. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And now, like what you were saying, when you were coming up, there wasn't anybody who had done it before besides Valente. Now the valley is just exploding with talent left and right.
Absolutely, yeah.
People
Well,
are doing
and
stuff.
the valley's always had talent.
Talent. Yeah.
I mean, when I was in high school, and we'd go compete, at the tournaments across the valley,
Yeah.
there was very, very talented people that could do all kinds of stuff. The
Yeah.
the issue is just accessibility. That was just always the issue.
Yeah.
Was who in the valley had money to fly to LA? When I was growing up, nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't just fly it. I didn't. The first flight I ever took was when I flew to Austin or San Antonio to audition for schools. That was the
Yeah.
first flight I ever took, and so it's just accessibility. So now that people are, and also the other thing is the internet has made it to where
Yeah.
people can see how things work. A
Yeah.
kid watching this podcast realizes, oh, okay, I see how you can become an actor, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And that stuff wasn't around when I was growing up. There was no internet, when I was in high school.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. I mean, even when I was in high school, the internet was still, I mean, very basic, in the late 90s, very, very basic.
You know what? What's interesting though, when we're talking about guys, nobody had really done it, before Valente or me, but one of my very first auditions in LA,
Yeah.
I'm sitting down, in the waiting room, and I strike up a conversation with this older Hispanic man
Yeah.
next to me, right? He's
Yeah.
probably, at that time, he was probably in his 50s,
Yeah.
late 50s, maybe 50s. And I was like 25 or 26 or something.
Yeah.
And we start talking, and he's been in a bunch of stuff. And we start talking to him, and he's like, oh, so where are you from? And I said, oh, I would always say, oh, I'm from South Texas. Like,
Mhm.
nobody's even heard of the Valley,
Yeah.
back
San
then.
Antonio is that's what I always got when I was.
Yeah, they're like San Antonio. I said, nah, further south, like
Yeah.
next to the border, right next to the border. He goes, oh, yeah. I said, from the Valley, and he goes, oh, what town? And I said, I mean, near McAllen. Like, I never even
Yeah.
say, because it's like nobody's heard of it.
Yeah.
And finally I said, he goes, well, what town? And I said, I'm from San Juan, Texas. And he goes, I'm from San Juan, Texas. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
What? And his name was Pete Leal.
Uh-huh.
And if you look him up, I mean, he worked quite a bit. He did, he was on a show called Los Beltran on Telemundo, which was Telemundo's one of their first sitcoms that they did.
Yeah.
That I actually guest starred on. It was all in Spanish. But Pete Leal, and he graduated from PSJ, from my high school, same high school.
Yeah.
And I had no idea, but he graduated from high school. He became a teacher, and then at some point he like moved to LA or whatever and became an actor and started working. And I mean, just recently, I think like in the last 10 years, he retired and is living in Texas, retired now.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. No, that's super crazy. Especially running into him like at an audition, you said?
Yeah, it's just sitting there next to him in an audition and talking to him. And like nowadays, you hear that story and you're kind of like, okay, well that's cool. But back then,
No,
like
yeah,
nobody was from the valley.
nobody.
Nobody was from the valley. Like
No,
there was nobody. I never met anybody out here from the valley. Valente, I finally met him out here because I was at an audition and I saw his name on the sign in,
yeah.
and I was like, oh shit, Valente's here, and I was like, and then I introduced myself
Mhm.
to him, but nobody else really.
Yeah, Valente would before I left Pan Am, he was helping Pan Am direct a movie for like they had a summer movie. I think
Yeah,
what they
yeah,
would
yeah,
do would they would shoot like a movie one summer and then do like summer stock, like stage stuff the following summer, and they would
yeah.
rotate that. So he was there helping with the movie, and that's when I would I got to know him and asked. I picked his brain. I asked him for advice, and then Mondo and Michael Ray came back to do Mondo's play. They were like kind of shopping it,
Oh,
like workshopping it.
Basilica, right?
Yeah.
Basilica.
And that's when Mondo, I don't think he remember. I don't think anybody remembered me. I was an extra for one day on Cruzando, and now that I've been doing movies for as long as I have on TV, I understand if you forget somebody that just was there for a few hours when you've got a
Yeah,
lot more, especially if you're producing and directing and all that
yeah,
fun stuff. So afterward, I talked to Mondo and I was like, hey, I'm going to go to New York. He's like, you have a place to stay? And I'm like, I don't know yet. I need to figure that out. He's like, I'll message you if you can help me look for places like, or what's safe in New York. Because in the Valley, we still think that New York is the New York that you see in a Taxi Driver or in
yeah,
the Warriors.
yeah,
So they think that even now people think that New York is just, like what is it, Escape from New York?
yeah. Like the 1970s,
Yeah.
bad area.
Yeah. Now
Now it's
it's
not,
like,
but now it's like Disneyland.
yeah, like Harlem's the nice place to live when Harlem used to be bad and Bed-Stuy, like when Brooklyn was bad, like nope.
Yeah,
And from there, Mando said, hey, we Serena and I are going to be going to LA, and we need someone to just stay at the apartment for the meantime. We'll be coming back and forth. Well,
yeah.
their landlord caught wind of it somehow, and he got real greedy, and it was a big mess. I had to move within a week, find a place and move within a week.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, he just wanted to raise the rent on them like $600 with it.
Wow,
They
it's
gave
crazy.
me and there was a girl from PSJ that was staying there too, uh a week's notice to find an
Wow.
apartment. Yeah, but it was nice that Mondo was like, here you go, here's the place to stay, just take care of it. And I tried to, but a greedy landlord saw that Williamsburg real estate was worth a lot of money, and so
Yeah,
yeah, they wanted to charge an arm and a leg. It's ridiculous
that's crazy,
how
man.
greedy they are there. But yeah, so it's nice meeting those guys. And
Oh
that's
yeah, they're great.
one of
They're
the things
great.
about the Valley is that when I went up to New York, and even before I went, we're always taking care of each other.
Yeah,
You didn't have to give me any advice. You didn't even have to. You could have just ignored the message from some random kid,
yeah,
that was just like, hey, yeah, I don't know. You could have done that, but you didn't. And the same thing with like Mondo and like Michael Ray and like Raul. Raul took me under his wing, Raul Castillo, and
yeah,
he introduced me to a lot of people. He took me to plays. Like that was one of the things that helped me when I was feeling homesick. And also just the Valley has its foot in New York. In New York
yeah,
theater scene, like the people they know that there's another kid from the Valley. Oh yeah, the
yeah,
Texas Mexican mafia up there. You
yeah.
know,
That's great. I love that. I think that that I never experienced New York.
yeah,
When I graduated from grad school, it was either New York or LA, and I ended up knowing that I wanted to go to LA.
yeah,
So I auditioned in New York and met with a bunch of agents for
hmm,
my league auditions, for my grad school auditions. But I never ended up experiencing it. But I love that there's a lot of Valley people up there doing theater, and
yeah,
because there's a lot of talented people, man, that come out of the Valley. And
bro, it
so
blows
many
my
people
mind.
that I meet that never took the step too, that never, there's people that I went to high school with
Yep.
that I regard as way more talented than I was.
Yeah.
And, and I regard them as people that I learned a lot from, but they just never took that step. They never
Yeah.
went, or they never saw a path, or they never
Yeah.
thought it was possible, or
Yeah.
whatever it was. That's why I always thank God that I was taken to those auditions
Yeah.
and got snatched up by SMU and
Yeah.
got trained. They trained me like the Dickens, and or else who knows what would have happened. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Who knows? Who knows where I would have gone, or where I would have studied, and where
Yeah.
where that dream would have fallen apart, or whatever. But
Yeah.
I just thank God that that snatched me out of there.
Yeah. And if you weren't acting, like you're talking about, like you don't know where you would have been, did you have any idea other than acting what you wanted to do?
Nothing. I still, like, sometimes I still think today, like, if I had stayed in the Valley, what would I be doing? I can't even, I'm not even close to knowing what I would be doing. This is what I've always wanted.
Yeah.
This is what I kind of dreamed of. It was either acting or playing halfback for the University of Texas, like Earl Campbell, but that dream never happened.
Yeah. Well, when I was graduating, so like if it would have been the senior class and I wanted to play halfback for UT, you got to remember that Cedric Benson graduated the same year I did from high school. That guy won 3 state championships back to back, and then he crushes it, and he died way too soon.
Yeah.
But absolutely. That's the kind of talent. And then I'm also just I ran a 4.8 40, so it was okay. But I wasn't as gordito as I am.
Yeah.
I'm gordito.
Neither of us were.
Man, yeah, I was 180, 185, and I was lifting weights all the time. And it's one of those things too where I think if I had stayed in shape and I was studly like I was in high school, because I'm not gonna lie to myself. I was a good looking. I was a stud. And there's pictures and people that remind me sometimes, like, what happened to you? That's the one thing. It wasn't like, oh, you were a stud. They'll just say, what happened to you? And that's the inflection. That's like, nice. Yeah, it's the nice. Valley. You know how the Valley is. They're haters. And it's people, and they say it with love. And I wonder, like, how that would have affected me as an actor, like how I would have been cast, or if I wouldn't even be working. Because I got to be honest, like when I was in grad school, the weight issue was an issue. You're always going to hear that from women, but it's very rare where you hear it from men, like saying, hey, you need to lose weight. You need to lose weight. But it does happen. And one of my classmates' fathers, he told me, you don't need to lose weight. He's like, let me tell you, you can lose weight if you want, get healthy if you want to do that, but do it because you want to.
Right.
But let me tell you this: if you lose weight, you're not going to work as much as you think you are. If you don't lose weight, then I guarantee you're going to be working. Yeah. And man, playing big boys has helped me out.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know. I've seen guys that have come out to LA and they're super good looking and nothing happens for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've seen guys that, come out, they're not that great looking, but they're very talented and they work. You know what I mean? And so you never know. My thing is just, be where you want to be. That's my thing. Like be, because I've worked when I've been in really good shape, and I've worked when I'm not in that great shape. Like I've always managed to work.
Yeah.
No matter what, right?
Absolutely.
So it's never necessarily a thing of oh, you have to look a certain way or whatever. It's just go in, do good work, and they'll find the parts for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And one of those things where I felt, I'm right where I need to be, especially in commercial auditions, because in New York they have the main commercial casting offices. Yeah. And that's like Endeavor Studios, that's Envision Studios, it's Beth Melsky's, and then House Casting. Like those are the ones that do a majority of the commercial. Yeah. There's like 5 rooms. There's always something going on. And every time I was there for just the audition, not the callback, because when you're in a callback, it's already been, whittled down.
Sure.
Everybody, it's been whittled down. But even at the regular, like just the audition, I see the same 5, 6 guys, and we're all pals. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things that we take care of each other, even if we're going in for, guest stars or
Yeah.
series, right? It's like, hey, did you go in for that? Tell your agent, you got to go in for that, bro. You'd be perfect. Like, we go back and forth.
Yeah.
We take care of each other. And those same commercials, like those waiting rooms, there would be a whole, like, there's like, they have like stadium seating, like those metal benches.
Yeah.
And it would be just nothing but pretty people, about 40 of them, pretty, whether they're male, female. And then there's just like us. Like, I remember one time it was me and like 4 other dudes, all look like me, chubby, bald, and bearded.
Yeah.
It was 4 or 5 of us. And there was a Nike callback. It was a callback, and it was all girls, and they're just drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah.
And they were lined up, about 30 of them. And we just looked at each other and we're like, no matter who gets it, I think we're all winners today. You know what I mean? But like, we were seeing the numbers there, and you see us, and it's just like, the odds were in, our favor, my favor. Like, I have, if you like go back to a couple of the podcasts I had with my friends Danny and Renes, we were on Divorce together, and we were the construction crew, and all 3 of us, we will probably go in for most of the same things, and we're always, each other's champions, and each of us, like, at one point, one of us is always going to be working. And that's what I like about that is like, with the character guys, we've already established that community, we're always each other's cheerleaders, and it's good to have that. And I like, I'd hope you have that over there.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I've always, I've been at this for 26 years, and there's still the same kind of guys that I run into. It's interesting for me because I go in for a variety of things, right? And so like if I'm at a commercial casting, although I've taken time off commercials, but if I'm at a commercial casting, I'll see the guys that I usually see at commercial castings.
Yeah.
And then like if I'm at a 1-hour drama casting, then I'll see the guys that I usually see at the 1-hour drama castings.
Yeah.
If I'm at a sitcom casting, like I'll see the same kind of guys. If I'm at a movie audition, like it's always a different group of guys. But since I've been around so long, like I walk in the room and I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot, I know everybody.
Yeah. And that's how it was in New York, where we walk in and, we're all pals. And but the thing is, it was the same for commercial, sitcom, whatever it was the same guys. And then when people said that New York was a small community, they weren't lying. When you're there long enough, you're going to see the same people, and like, we're all friendly. Like us guys, like we were friendly. And especially, there's no hate or anything.
The group of actors that work.
Yeah,
it's not a lot.
No,
I mean, it's really not a lot of people. It's a handful of people that get to do a lot of work, and those are the same people that you see all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not really. It is a big community, but in a way, it's kind of small when you really think about it.
Absolutely, no, it's very small, and it's always interesting because in one of the offices, Telsey's office, Bernie Telsey's office, it's they've gone beyond Broadway, because they're the big Broadway casting office, and they do movies, and that's where I booked my first commercial as well, and TV, and I booked a movie through there. But they also, it's just like every other casting office, there's like 5 rooms in this one office, and you see everybody. And when you see the atmosphere at the, like, my audition, where all of us were chatting and laughing, like, it's just it makes it more comfortable. But then across the hall, in the other section of the waiting room, it's the girls auditioning for Broadway shows, and oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, you can
feel
you can feel the chill in the air.
Yeah, man, I don't even want to walk through there, and it's like the bathrooms on the, like, I have to walk through there, and it's just like it's competitive, man.
It is competitive. I mean, it's crazy, and everybody deals with it differently. Everybody deals with because people get nervous, and people really you have people that are very driven and are type A personalities, and then you have people that don't take it that seriously, and then you have people that So everybody responds to it differently. That's why you never sure what you're gonna get in a room.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's always weird. It always depends. And there's always like the one guy that's over talkative.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
you
yeah,
can tell
yeah,
they're kind of nervous, or you can see like the desperate person,
yeah,
where you can smell it. Yeah.
yeah,
I remember I was at an audition, and it was in an office where the door for the actual room was thin. So you can hear everything. Everything. And in this particular day, they were running a little bit behind. So the waiting room was starting to get a little crowded. Man, this poor guy, I think he had just started. He was new. And the casting director just kept telling him, it's like, okay, do it again, but stop trying to act. And the guy
yeah,
would do it the exact same way
yeah.
over and over. And just, everyone got the note outside. It's like, dude, don't do it. And we're like kind of cheering him on, but he kept doing it. And the casting director was like, listen, I'm trying to help you here. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
stop
yeah,
trying to act. And
yeah,
poor guy couldn't get it. It just like, it's crazy, man.
yeah. I mean, there's certain people that you just can't break them of certain things.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how long do you want to be doing this for?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Like,
in this for my life, bro.
so
I,
you're
I,
old.
yeah. I mean, I've known that since I started. I was
Yeah.
one of those guys I said, this is what I'm gonna do the rest of my life. I mean,
Amazing.
there's no, it's just till I die, bro. I mean, I'm gonna be acting.
That's so cool. Yeah.
That's just always been my mentality.
Yeah. No, it's good. Do you do anything else? Like, are you writing too? Do you write too, or is just
No,
solely
I've never
acting?
done I've never done anything else. I've always just been an actor. I've
Mhm.
always done that. People are like, "Well, are you interested in directing?" I've never really been that interested in it. I've never been
Yeah.
interested in writing. I've never been interested. Like, I think, well, maybe I probably should have written
Yeah.
stuff when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I've never had an interest in it. And the other thing is, I've never had like a need to do it. Like,
Yeah.
there's never been anything that's really calling me to write something or to direct something. I
Yeah.
really just have always enjoyed being an actor. I love being an actor. I love working as an actor. Now, what's interesting is that I just started teaching at a
Okay.
university
Yeah.
here, which
Yeah.
I never had in mind to ever, ever, ever teach. Right? I have a
Yeah.
master's degree, but I but when I was younger, I always thought, oh, well, if you're teaching, that means you're a failure at acting, and you can't.
That's
That
another misconception. Yeah.
yeah, you couldn't do it, so now you're teaching, right? That was
Yeah.
my mentality. And then just recently, a friend of mine runs a theater program at a university here, and through another friend we got back in contact. We went to SMU together, and she runs a theater program, and we got in contact, and she was like, would you ever consider teaching? And I said, yeah, I kind of would, because like I've worked with like young actors over the years, and I coach Maria sometimes, and now I coach my daughters when they have stuff in high school, and when they've had auditions for the professional world or whatever. And I really enjoy coaching young actors, and any actor. I've always been in love with the acting process
Hmm.
and how to get an actor from point A to point B, and the whole process of that is just really like stimulating to me and really exciting.
Yeah.
And so when we were talking about it, I said, yeah, I think I would enjoy it, actually. I think I would want to try it, you know.
Yeah.
And so basically what I'm doing is I am directing a one act play online over Zoom, basically, because
Hmm.
everything's over Zoom.
Yeah.
And I was able to do it while I was in Romania,
Yeah.
just doing the online over in Romania, except that my times in Romania, I was teaching from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. on Friday night. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the time was
Yeah.
crazy, but I mean, it's just so exhilarating and so fun to work with young, talented actors and coach them and try and give them a little bit of my knowledge and my expertise, and try not to get in the way of some of them that are just very talented.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I think to myself, oh, I don't want to talk too much to them because
Yeah.
they're brilliant, and
Yeah.
I'll ruin them
Yeah.
if I get too heady. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that whole thing, that's a delicate balance,
Yeah.
And so I'm really enjoying it. And then next, and the other thing was, it was during COVID that we talked about it, and I was like, well, yeah, I don't know if the industry is going to come back. Who knows?
We didn't
Who
know.
knows if we're
Yeah.
going to be able to be on a set ever again?
Yeah.
And so it was just perfect. It was like a perfect kind of timing.
Yeah.
And so I'm enjoying it, and I think I'm going to teach 2 classes next semester,
Nice.
which is kind of cool. They're very flexible as far as like if you get a job and that kind of stuff, because they really want to hire actors that are doing it. They want to hire
As they should.
professors
Yeah.
that are in the industry, because then you actually can share your expertise.
Yeah.
So they're very flexible about it.
Yeah.
But I'm just seeing what it's like. I'm so this is the first time that I've ever done anything else. Like
Yeah.
I I've never even had like a day job, like the first year or year and a half I needed like a day job, a survival job.
Yeah.
But then after that, it's always just been acting, whether it's commercials or TV or film or whatever. I've always been able, between Marie and I, to be able to like just live on acting. And so there's been times when there's like a dull period and I'm like, or a down period, and I'm like, shoot, man, I wish I would have started something like a business or something to have during this weird time. But then everything comes all, usually things come back up again and that kind of stuff. But I've never done anything else.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting thing to do, and it's kind of like I'm kind of at the right age to kind of start doing this. And so,
and the experience is there.
Absolutely. The experience of sharing, sharing what it's like in the professional world and what they're going to get, what they need to be ready for, and all that kind of stuff. I think that I don't know, man. I believe in destiny a lot, and I believe, in God's providence a lot. And I believe the fact that I was plucked out, went to SMU, then plucked out, got another full paid scholarship to go to get my master's degree.
That's amazing.
And then got an agent right out of grad school from the, it was just things that were beyond me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm very open to that kind of destiny thing. And so we'll see what happens, man. I mean, I feel that for the ride, and as long as I'm enjoying it and loving what I'm doing, then that's all that matters to me.
I agree 100% with you, and I feel the same way. In my trajectory in this career, I have felt like there's been someone watching out for me. Like either God's watching out for me in the universe, whatever. And I know that just because when times really start getting tough, then something comes up.
Yep.
And
it's always like that.
It just happens. And, I got into grad school, and then I booked a commercial, and before even like when I did the whole thing at grad school, you said, you can get an agent through the showcase. That's why that's one of the huge, aside from the actual education and learning, you want to go through the showcase. Well, I didn't get any love from agents or managers in the showcase. I reached out to one personally, and that guy ended up, and it worked out to where, we met up, and the guy sent me on, we're going to freelance for like a month. And he's just gonna say, you know what, let's just see if we work well together, and he was talking a big game. He's like, I can get you into this office and this office, but it's just like, I don't know, let's see if we can work for, from the valley. You know how we are, like, this is at some point, I don't know if we'll ever get like our little whatever, the hater, like, like it like, nah, mister. And sure enough, this guy, within, I think we met for breakfast on a Friday. That following Tuesday, I had my first 2 professional auditions, and it was for a movie. I always remember this. The first 2 auditions I ever had was the first one was Staten Island Summer, which was a movie that Colin Jost from SNL wrote. I always remember there's a lot of SNL people in there. And then the second audition was in the same building, a few floors up, and that was for Royal Pains. Didn't book either, but I made a good relationship in that first audition, which was with a casting director, Meredith Tucker, who ended up casting me in Divorce, which is my first recurring
Yeah.
job I did
Yeah.
2 years later. And then 2 days later on that Thursday is when I did the AT&T with the Yankees. And that was my first thing. And he's like, yeah, we're going to sign.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was a good
Absolutely.
partnership. And it just like you said, it just one thing after another. And then I had the survival job. I was working at a gym at the front desk at an Equinox,
Yeah.
man, talk about like a hustle. Like it's just, I got yelled at for some of the stupidest things,
Oh
the
gosh.
most stupidest things on earth. And, it was one of those things where I needed that job just to remind me what I was there for,
Yeah.
just to keep
Absolutely.
that. Just, I got yelled at, cussed at. I remember it was 2016 because it was that November because Donald Trump became president that night.
Yeah. 2016.
2016, I was there. I was working at Equinox, and the next day, a lady came up to the front desk because I was the front desk, the manager on duty. Like basically, I was in charge when all the managers were gone. So
Right.
I had to deal with all this bullshit. And this lady comes up, and this is how she opens up the conversation or her complaint. She's like, "I know a lot has happened in the last 24 hours, but you all need to get over it. They need to speak English in the locker room." Because apparently one of the maintenance girls, well, the female maintenance girl, and one of the trainers were speaking Spanish. And what was happening was that the trainer was helping the maintenance girl with her English because she's been trying to learn English.
Right. Right.
You
That was
know,
the point of it. Yeah.
and so we got in this huge dispute, and I was like, "Man, that's not an issue. Like, that shouldn't." I don't even remember some of that, but I just remember that she's like, "Shut up, boy, and listen to me."
Oh
I
my
was like,
God.
"Wow!" And it's just like little confrontations like that.
Anger issues.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just petty stuff. And I'm glad I didn't have to work that. That was November 2016, and I stopped working there in 2017.
Wow.
Like Rosa said, you know what? You've been doing really well. You've, been working enough. Let's just
Yeah.
focus fully on that and no turning back now.
Yeah. There's a balance that happens when you started working enough.
Yeah.
And I remember my last day job. I had I was at UCLA for like 9 months. I was working on this. I was working on like a research study that UCLA was doing. It was a really great job. I remember because I would just ask people questions, questionnaires, and stuff like that, and they'd pay you hourly, and then you also got benefits, which was great. Like I had health benefits through that job, which was great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was a great job. And then I was working already, and I had gotten a couple of movies and a few TV jobs, and the job ended. That job ended, like, because the research study ended, and everybody was leaving, and it was going to be my last week. And I had my last meeting with my supervisor, and I told her, I just wanted you to know, not that she wanted to know, but we were friends and stuff. And I said, I just want you to know, and it was important for me to say it too.
Yeah.
I said, I just want you to know this is going to be my last day job ever.
Good.
And it was like, I never needed a day job. Thank God.
Yeah.
But it was something that I realized because of the work I had been getting. I was like, okay, I can do this. I can get jobs. I can work in this industry. And I don't know, it was just something from within me that had to say it.
Yeah.
Because again, she didn't like ask me or anything like that, but it was something that I needed to say to her, like, this is going to be my last day job. And she said, "Oh, good."
Yeah.
Was
it one of those things that you needed to say it? Just, I'm going to put it out there. That I think there's been vocalize it and have a confirmation from someone else.
And it wasn't even like
you were conscious. Mad or anything.
It wasn't even conscious. Like, I wasn't consciously making this statement or whatever. It was like something from inside that felt like I needed to tell her that. And I also needed it for myself. I didn't know that I needed it at the time, but I needed it for myself. And it was like just a declaration of saying, this is it. this is going to be the rest of my life, you know? And I think an important step, because there's that time when you're working, and then you realize, okay, now I can fly, you know, I can
Yeah.
fly here.
No, that's something I deal with. I mean, especially this has been during COVID. COVID is heightened that kind of how do I say it? Nervousness or uncertainty for me, where
Anxiousness.
Yes, I have that anxiety in me where I moved from New York. This was part of the podcast. Why I started this podcast was that we moved from New York, and I was already unsure what kind of work I was going to be getting, or if, because that manager that I'd met with, we had parted ways in November of 2018. It was amicable. I just knew that I had outgrown him. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just, I was going in for just certain things, and it's just, I needed to do something bigger.
Yeah.
And it was almost like you said, like, things happen for a reason. It ended up happening at that exact time. He had gotten pancreatic cancer and hadn't told anybody, and he passed away that March.
Wow.
So it was kind of like I had to move on, and from then it's like that uncertainty of like, am I going to work again? And now I do have reps, and I did get reps when I first moved down. I got some amazing reps in Austin. And February was probably the best February and January I've ever had in my career. Like, for me, up until this past January and February, I would never have any auditions. I was never the series reg guy. You know, I had worked 5 guest stars in a row, you know, in 2018, 2019, I did 1 and a movie. That was it. And, you know, so I was starting to get seen for series regs, and I went in for a couple and for some features, and it was like, okay, this is happening now. This can happen here in Texas. Like, this is possible. And then COVID hit. COVID hit. And the industry shut down. And then I start thinking, you know, when you're in isolation and away from the community that you've already built, I had already built in New York, where all my friends, you know, I have my creative friends over there, you know, it's like Chewy and Ben and like Jackie and like all these people, JJ and Raul and just all these people. And they're mainly from the Valley too. That's the craziest thing. A lot of people from the Valley. And now there's no one here. And the people that are here, they're pretty creative. There are some that are really creative, but we're still like, it's a different vibe down here. So I never thought that I was going to, you know, I go back and forth like, man, am I going to work again? Am I not going to work again? And it's been great talking to people like you and Ricardo and Yul Vasquez and, you know, other folks who have been there, and they everyone's told me the same thing. It's like, hey, this happens. This is like, if it doesn't happen, there's something wrong. You get ready for it to happen at some point.
Absolutely.
And, you know, like right now, I'm just, you know, some days it's like better than others where, you know, like, man, am I going to get an email from my agents today? Or,
it's really important. It's really
crazy.
What I've realized, because I've had a lot of, you know, over 26 years, I've had a lot of times where it's like, what's going to happen? I mean, and usually it's like you're aging out of a category, and then you're still haven't aged into the next category. Like I've seen that happen. Like I've experienced that, and then there's like this lull because you're not getting the things, and you're like, oh, what's going to happen? But the advice I give everybody is always like, you've always figured it out, right? You just have to figure it out now in a different place, right? In a different situation. It's not the same situation as New York or LA or whatever. It's a different situation, and you're going to figure out what it is at that situation. Because I believe that if you're meant to work, you're going to work, right? I there's a couple of young actors that were on this movie with me, and I said, you know what? You guys are going to work. I know it, because you're 21 years old, you're 25 years old, and already you booked a movie that shoots in Europe. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Yeah.
that to me is an indication that people are like, well, am I good enough to work in this industry? If you get one job,
Yeah.
you're good enough to work in this industry, right?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of now
The right jobs.
persistence,
Yeah.
keeping going, trying to get the next job. Are you
Mhm.
right for that next job? But if you get a job, you're good enough.
Yep. I
You know what I
agree.
mean? Are you good enough to work? Are you good enough to get an Oscar? That's a whole
Yeah.
nother ball game, right?
I,
That's a
I,
whole nother
yeah.
universe. But
Yeah.
as
Not
far
only,
as working in the industry,
yeah.
you're gonna work, you're gonna work, you're gonna work. It's just a matter of what that looks like and how you figure it out. Now I
Yeah.
know there's quite a few things going on in the valley. I know like there's production companies that are starting up, and
Yeah, they are.
people trying to do stuff.
You
It
guys shot a
seems
movie here.
Put it.
You did.
Yeah, we just we shot a movie there, but we brought the movie
You brought the
there.
movie, but a lot of people are bringing the movies here as well. While you were shooting that, there was another movie that was shooting here. I think Alyssa Milano was in it.
Right, Alyssa Milano, a friend of mine was in that movie.
Yeah. So that's happening. There was another movie
A
that was
friend of
gonna.
mine from LA was in that movie.
Oh, really? So they came to the
Yeah.
valley and they asked. Did they ask like for places to go?
No, I think they were. She didn't ask me for places to go, but I just knew that she was.
It's like places to stay away from.
No. I just messaged her and said, "Hey, I'm from there, by the way." And she was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, wow, cool, that's awesome."
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but yeah. So yeah, they're bringing some stuff down there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still very like, not a lot of stuff, obviously,
No.
but I know that there's like some stuff even being generated down there. Like there's some people that are trying to start, production companies and to
Yeah.
shoot movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, there's definitely, and that's been happening. I'd like to say for a good like 10 years that people have really started to come out here, and a lot of good camera guys have come out here.
Yeah.
A lot of good camera guys are coming out of here, like Rick Diaz. He graduated a year after me from Sherryland. He just was the DP in Brian Banks, that movie, and then him and I think another Valley boy shot the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot.
Yeah. There's a guy from, I think he's from
Harlingen.
Is he from Harlingen or
I
something
think
like
so.
that?
Westlake or one of those. Yeah.
He was living in Austin, and he did.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic stuff.
It's
I mean,
crazy.
And like I say, I mean, there's very talented people in the valley. It's just a matter of first realizing that it's possible, and then also like seeing like, well, what are the like practical steps to do this? You know what I mean? But then after that, I mean, so many talented people have come out and done stuff, and I'm just like, I'm blown away by it. It's great.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. Like I think one of the big dreams for me is to shoot something down here. And something I've been trying to write, and something that's just different than I mean, everybody says that they want to write something that's different, that's not cliche, but I really am just tired of seeing the whole same cartel or sort of depiction of the border life in general, just border life, but not just the Rio Grande Valley. Like there's just a whole beautiful world down here that people don't know.
So many stories
many.
in the valley, and so many interesting things that
Yeah.
can be explored, and just the bicultureness of it, being like being Mexican, but at the same time being an American, like I was born in the valley. So my parents were born in the valley.
Yeah.
And some of my grandparents were born in the valley. Like they're Tejanos, they're Texans, right?
Yeah.
And just the idea, but then I just worked with some people that are from, one of them is from Torreon, Mexico, and the other one is from I forget the other town, but they're just across the border from us. They're norteños.
Yeah.
And our Spanish is the same. I speak to them in Spanish, I speak to them in English, and we have the same culture and the same sayings, but at the same time, I'm obviously American to them.
Yeah.
And they are obviously Mexican to me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But we share the same culture, and just that whole bicultural thing is just a really fascinating thing that really hasn't been explored.
No.
In film or TV. And to me, it's just like, it's like double, you have that double culture, and you have that double chances of stories, and
Yeah.
the complexity of the story because of the bicultural and stuff like that. I think it's fascinating stuff, but nobody
No one's doing it.
really cares to do it.
No, and one of the things that how I always explain to people what the Rio Grande Valley is, or where the Rio Grande Valley is, or what it's like. I always will say that it's not Texas and it's not Mexico. It's its own culture. You know
Yeah,
what I
it's its
mean?
own
Because
culture. Yeah,
we're forgotten by Mexico. Like the fresas that come up, and go shopping, they treat us like crap. But then the people north of us treat us like crap too.
that's the other thing I told people. I said, look, I grew up with rich Mexicans coming across
Mhm.
the border into the United States
Yeah.
and treating us,
Like,
looking down on us because
oh
we were
man,
poor. You
awful.
know what I mean? Like people don't see that. They're like, oh yeah, the people in Mexico are poor. I said, not everybody. There's some freaking
No,
rich
people.
people in Mexico that come
Yeah.
across the shop, and I'm the poor kid. I'm the American, but I'm the poor kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, and then I worked retail out of high school at the mall at La Plaza. Dude, if you want to be treated poorly by people,
No.
it's like the
Yeah.
fresas that come up. They throw everything around. They don't fold it, and they
Yeah.
talk down to everybody. But then
Yeah.
if you go up north, you're just not Texan enough either.
Right.
And
Exactly.
it's a weird place, and I love our culture because we have pride in what we have.
But what's
Down here.
interesting is also like our culture and the northern Mexican culture
Yeah.
is very similar, and the northern Mexicans are
Yeah.
treated differently from the Mexicans that are even further south. That's the
Yeah.
thing that I realized, and
Yeah.
that's why I say we're like this. In that sense, we are the same culture with the northern Mexicans because
Yeah.
that's what we are, and it's essentially,
Yeah.
and so even they are seen as different than people from central Mexico or
Yeah.
southern Mexico or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it was very bonding for me to work with, the people in the cast that were from northern Mexico.
Yeah. I can
Even though we're
imagine.
from different countries.
For me, it wasn't the same thing, but how there's always a rumor in the valley that some famous person lived here. There was always something and someone. Well, for us, when I was growing up, they always said that Thomas Hayden Church lived in Harlingen,
Yeah, he's from
and
Harlingen.
and I had always heard that, and I was like, you know what? If I ever work with this guy, I'm gonna ask him, like straight up. I'm gonna ask him. Well, sure enough, I got divorced, and he's the lead. And I went up to him. I was like, "Hey, Mr. Church." He's like, It's Thomas," and I said, "Hey, I got a question." He's like, "What's up?" And I was like, "I grew up in the Rio Grande Valley," and I was like, "I gotta know, are you from Harlingen?" He's like, "You know Harlingen?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "Well, I didn't grow up in Harlingen. I grew up in Laredo, but I did graduate high school from Harlingen." He's like, "Well, no shit, like that's so crazy. Another Valley boy, and
Yeah.
he got me 2 more episodes. I think because
that's great.
bonded. Yeah, dude. And it's just so cool that he still has like a warehouse down here in Harlingen somewhere. So it's just like he still has that connection. And he was actually, I think, Tom Quesada, because he was adopted. He was raised by a Mexican family.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really, really interesting guy. And it was just a cool experience to have and share with that myth that someone did live here. Like they always said, like Chris Christopherson was born like in Brownsville or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know that. Like I gotta ask him, or Sissy Spacek.
Julian Schnabel.
Yes, and I saw his house every day in New York.
Yeah, he graduated from what's that private school in Brownsville?
St. Joe.
Yeah, he graduated from St. Joe's.
See, okay. So my school in New York, my grad school was the next street over in the West Village, and he has his house. It's called Palazzo Chupi, and it is.
That's funny.
A big fight in the West Village because it's like 8 stories. It's huge. It's selling for like $20 or $30 million. It's got its own little driveway, like a garage in there, but it's just if you know the West Village, just think about Sex in the City, like Carrie Bradshaw,
Yeah, sure, of
and
course.
just all those old brownstones.
Yeah.
This guy decides he's going to build his own work of art, and it's just like it has Roman columns going up and
Uh-huh.
down, and it's painted pink, this bright pink, and the people in the neighborhood are always fighting with him. They did not want that color there. And it's just like it just looks so out of place because it's in the middle of like regular looking buildings,
Yeah.
but it's huge, huge. And I always wanted to like run into him and ask him about Brownsville. So that's one of those things. Yeah, Schnabel. That's the only reason why I know about that was because of his house right there.
Yeah, Julian Schnabel. Yeah, he's from there. So there's been people that have come out of there, but it's very few,
Yeah.
far between. I think it's more people have, it's more normal now that people have come out and become actors and are on TV shows and are in movies and people hear about them. It's become a little bit more normalized, but not for a long, it hasn't been that long.
No, and being here again, I see the monitor or like channel 5, and there's always something or somebody new that's doing something that I had no clue who they were, because I have, we know the people that we know in our circle from the Valley, but there's new people. There was a girl that went, I guess, from Mac High, who's in that show Hellstrom, and on Hulu, and Ariana Guerra or something like that, and I'd never heard of her, and she's a series reg, so she's making waves doing that.
Good for her.
There was another girl. Was she from Edinburgh too? She was on Broadway, and she was on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. I think her name's Gabriella or something like that. Gabrielle. And it's just like I had never heard of her either, and that's just freaking cool. And then another guy I think I had worked with, his name is Wilberth. He's designing costumes at on Broadway. Or was. I mean, now they're in that hiatus until next year. But a Valley boy doing stuff in on Broadway, and a Valley girl.
No, it's fantastic.
It's freaking amazing, and it's just we got such a talent pool, and I think that's something that every young person who's considering this is just, it's possible. You may not. You have to like really think about the expectations, like just like you said, like if you're chasing fame, you're in it for the wrong thing most of the time. It's just. Be true to yourself.
I think there also has to be a part of you that thinks like, well, I'm gonna make it no matter what.
Yeah,
that you have to have that in you, because I think it's only like 1% of actors that make a living as an actor. I mean, it's really not very many people that make a living as an actor, and you have to be like, well, I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to work, even if I have a day job or whatever. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it no matter what. And you have to have that sort of sense of, because I've always told people, I said, you can't be practical about this business.
No, it's unpredictable.
And you also, you can't be logical about it either. You can't think, because it makes no sense to become an actor if only 1%. Of actors make a living. It's ridiculous. It's really crazy to be an actor, right? So you have to have that sense of, well, I'm kind of crazy, and I think that I can do it, and I'm gonna do it no matter what, and nobody's gonna stop me, and I'm gonna be the one that breaks out, and I'm gonna be the one that gets jobs. And you have to have that mentality. As insane as it seems, you have to have that mentality of, I can do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's also, don't compare your journey to others.
Exactly.
Everybody's journey. And it just, like you said, it does not make sense. A lot of the time, what you see happen for other people, it does not make sense. How does a person with 0 credits get a huge movie? Ray Fisher.
Listen, man,
Cyborg.
I've been at this job long enough where I remember seeing, certain actors that were on a series making bank, driving their Mercedes-Benz onto Paramount Boulevard. I mean, Paramount Studios, right? And I was like, wow. I'm walking to an audition. I'm like, wow, that's so and so, and they're driving their Beamer into Paramount Studios, and cut to 20 years later, and that guy's never worked in 10 years and I'm still working. You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
Like, you never know.
Nope.
You never know what's gonna happen. And so to me, to compare myself and say, oh my God, I'll never reach that level.
Yeah.
I still haven't reached that level, right? I still haven't reached that level where that guy was. But at the same time, I'm still working and I'm still viable and I'm still getting jobs and I'm still having fun and that kind of stuff. So had I compared myself back then going, wow, I'll never make it, forget it, I'm out of here. You know what I mean?
No,
you can't do that.
Oh,
I mean, it's natural. It's natural to want to have the opportunities that other people have. That's a natural thing, right? Oh,
absolutely.
I wish I had that opportunity. I wish I could be on that or whatever.
Yeah.
But me and that person are not the same at all. And who knows what journey they're going through, and if their personal life is even any happy.
Absolutely.
I've worked with people that are making bank like 400,000 a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're miserable.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so I would never want that. Money is not worth misery. Who knows why they're miserable?
Yeah.
But I'd rather be happy and just, making an okay living.
Absolutely. And I think we both worked on shows where, we're the guest star for the week and you spend enough time, especially when you're a guest star, it's about 10 days. And you've been on enough shows and I've been on enough shows where, these are you can see the actors who still take it serious and still appreciate the craft and the work they got. And then others are just going through the motions. They're collecting a paycheck and it's kind of like, what are y'all doing? But then I got to remind myself
and complaining about stuff. I'm like,
oh my gosh, there was one show I did and they're doing the setup. Okay. We did a rehearsal and then there was a setup and I was with 4 of the leads, there was it was an ensemble cast and then there was 5 of them and the men in particular, because the female had just joined the show, were talking about their meal prep plan. That's all they were talking about. Like they just did not care about the scene. They weren't focused and it's fine. I get it. It's like an off day. It's not like
it's an important thing to a series regular because
and these guys were all pretty, but then one pulls out an iPad and he's going through the girls they were going through at Lollapalooza. It's just like, you're young, like you do, you know what I mean? It's just like that. I couldn't do that. And I just don't see the longevity, for some, you can see it and enjoy it.
And for most people, there isn't longevity, a lot of people, the majority of people that are a series regular, the majority never get back to be a series regular. If you really look at the numbers,
it's one and done.
There's the one person that went from series to series and series, but then look at the other people on that series and track their careers, and wow, they're now an accountant, or wow, they're now working at that business, and they're not even in the business anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And so it's like, very blessed to be able to work in this business, and be very grateful to be able to even get a job and come. Not that you make yourself smaller in any way. You still have to remember who you are and stuff. But the idea, I've worked with actors that have told me, I've been humbled, bro.
Yeah,
I've been humbled, and now I'm, focused, and I'm or I've worked, so you just never know, man. And you just got to stay focused. You got to stay grateful, do the work. Don't minimize yourself at the same time, because that's what a lot of actors do too. They're like, oh, I could never reach that level, or I could never, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not true. You never know.
Yeah.
They might need somebody exactly like you in that freaking part that makes you, super famous. You never know. You really never know.
We truly don't know. I've seen that happen to where I had a couple of friends who went from, thinking about quitting to having their whole lives changed within a matter of months.
Yep.
And that's cool.
There's so many stories like that.
It happens.
And if anybody's listening, I'm thinking of quitting. Ready, go. Just in case.
No, I mean, this is, no, me too. because I thought about it because there was, there's just that uncertainty. And like for me, because of that, and because of not knowing where the next job is coming from, I milk every moment that I'm on set.
Sure.
I find time almost every time I'm on set, and I look around, and it could be in the middle of, when I was doing divorce or FBI or whatever it was. And I look around and I just take it in, and I was like, you know what? I started in the Valley, just a kid in a little place people don't even know about, and I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just bask in it because I don't know when I will work again. And
Yeah.
it's just,
And that's important, man. It's
yeah,
important to I think appreciate, every moment in your life and every place that you're at, because it's not always like that. It's
yeah,
not, there's times where there's dry periods, and so you just have to appreciate all of it, man.
yeah, man. Well, this has been amazing. This has like really been a great conversation. I'm glad we had this. And thank you for taking time out of your schedule. I know you just got back. You're probably going to be working again really soon.
I'm about to do a self tape in about 10 minutes.
So hopefully I've inspired you.
You've inspired me, bro.
Yeah.
You have inspired me
This
to
is
go
the
out
one
there.
that's going to change it
This is
forever.
I don't know, but hopefully it will.
Yeah,
It might
man.
just be a job. It might just be another job, which is fantastic.
Well, you never know, because the one job could lead to, a chance encounter on set with some young PA who you were just nice to. And that PA a year later wrote something. He's like, you know what, man, I thought about you after you worked, and I just didn't know how to finish the script, but guess what? I finished it, and I'm going to do it. And that ends up being the next big thing. And you just inspired somebody.
That's the crazy thing. You never know, you never know. And so you just gotta be ready for anything and throw yourself into everything. This self-tape that I'm doing, throw myself in, do a great job, turn it in, forget about it. Go on to the next thing, and the next thing, you just get that's the way this business is. You just gotta keep marching forward.
Yeah. You got to. Yeah, man.
Well, it's such a pleasure to talk to you, bro.
Absolutely, man. It's like in person and like actually hearing voices and anything instead of just like messaging on Facebook.
Absolutely,
it's been great. Can we find you on Instagram or anywhere social media?
David_Barrera.
Okay.
Is my Instagram, and my Twitter is also the same, David_Barrera. And of course on Facebook, my fan page, David Barrera. And yeah, man, that's it. I don't think I have anything else. I don't have a TikTok because
well, I don't know, man. I don't know how to do it, but I get hooked on TikTok. I have a TikTok. I've done a couple, but I'm not committed enough to do it daily. Like people hate on those TikTok kids.
My daughter has like 90,000 followers on TikTok.
Your daughter, Bridget?
Yes, Bridget.
She can sing. I can't. Okay, that's the big difference. I can try to sing, I can sing, and I might get followers just so people can laugh at me.
Do you have a TikTok?
Yeah. I got like 4 videos, and it's like it's weak. I think it's Jorge Chapa. You just look up Jorge Chapa.
I'll look it up, bro, because I don't have a TikTok. Like I don't follow people. I just go. Yeah, like you can just go on without an account and just see things.
That's what I do.
I'll check it out.
I look at barbecue stuff all the time. Like my Instagram and my TikTok is all barbecue. Yeah, it's my wife, like Rosa. She just makes fun of me because I look at barbecue and steaks and like cooking and DIY projects.
You're on Dad TikTok, bro. That's what it's called.
I am.
Dad TikTok. My feed, even though I don't have an account, it still gives me a feed, and it's all like construction and
mine too,
painting and stuff like that. I enjoy it.
Me too. It's therapeutic. And then I'll go smoke, some ribs. That's the one thing about living in the Valley I can do. I barbecue like 3 times a week.
That's great, bro. That's so great.
New York was killing me. I couldn't do that. But yeah, no, I love that. Once again, thank you everybody that has been with us and watching and listening. Thank you. Please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe on YouTube, and we're on iTunes. Go ahead and leave a nice review. That'd be nice to keep going. David, thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank you,
this.
bro. It's great to talk to you, and learned so much, and it's just nice to connect, bro. It's nice to connect with people from the Valley and artists, and I love it. So thanks for asking me, and anytime, bro.
We're gonna work together soon. I'm telling you,
we're gonna do it.
It's gonna happen.
That's right. We're gonna shoot a movie in the Valley.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be awesome.
I'm working on it. I've been writing a script, dude. I'm not even lying. I've been working on it. I'm not the best writer, but I do have an idea, and we'll see what happens. I have a couple, literally two ideas. One's a pilot and one's an actual feature. But I had it on my mind for a while.
That's awesome, bro. Yeah. I mean, we've done two movies in the Valley, and we'd like to do more, but it's always just a matter of schedules and timing and money. And, I mean, the last two movies that I've done in the Valley, bro, I've lost money on both of them. You know what I mean? It's it's not a money-making endeavor. You know what I mean? So
because you love doing really what you do.
It's really just about the passion of bringing a movie down to the Valley. Yeah. And also, because every time we shoot a movie in the Valley, we always, there's always people that work on the movie that are from the Valley. Yeah. You know what I mean? We bring a lot of the people down, a lot of the cast and a lot of the key people, but there's always people that are from the Valley that get to work on a movie. Yeah. And to me, that's really why we do it, is to give people that experience, and also to give people that sense of hey, I can do this. Yeah. I can be this. I can do this. And to me, that's the whole reason why we always dreamed of shooting movies in the Valley.
Well, remember that summer of 2007 when y'all did Cruzando? I was in one of those.
That's right, bro.
And here I am now. So
and that was the spark.
That was the spark. It was one of the literal sparks. I'm not even lying. That was one of the sparks. So thank you so much.
Thank you, bro. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely, man.